Family Tree DNA is working with the FBI. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today on BuzzFeed.News, one of the biggest at-home DNA testing companies is working with the FBI. Essentially, they're sharing their vast database that they've collected of your DNA, of DNA that people have sent in to get tested and, to have the results back to see their lineage and other things like that. It's on record, it's owned by this company, and now this company, and I'm sure many others will follow, are sharing that data with the FBI. Oh, I can just see that future dystopia where no one has privacy, everyone is controlled, and we're all just a click away. For the FBI and other government organizations, even though we've done nothing wrong, it's coming, it's coming. The move is sure to raise privacy concerns as law enforcement gains the ability to match DNA from crime scenes to a vast library of possible relatives. Yeah, so Family Tree DNA has given the FBI access to its database. That means that anyone who's related to you, well, now the FBI can dig their hands in there and find your relatives, possibly find you. Family Tree DNA, one of the largest private genetic testing companies whose home testing kits enable people to trace their ancestry and locate relatives, is working with the FBI and allowing agents to search its vast genealogy database in an effort to solve violent crime cases, BuzzFeed News has learned. See, this is the worst thing about living in the modern world. We have all of these insane new technologies, which not only rob us of our privacy, but are letting companies and the government know everything about us. There is no privacy. Federal and local law enforcement have used public genealogy databases for more than 2 years to solve cold cases, including the landmark capture of the suspected Golden State Killer. But the cooperation with Family Tree DNA and the FBI marks the first time a private firm has agreed to voluntarily allow law enforcement access to its database. There needs to be a suit filed against this. This is unacceptable. The FBI shouldn't have access, especially to a private database. I don't even think it should have access to a public database. Is this 1984? With more insane technology? Are they gonna have my DNA now? Are they gonna have your DNA? This is dangerous, and it can be abused in so many ways. So while the FBI does not have the ability to freely browse genetic profiles in the library, the move is sure to raise privacy concerns about law enforcement getting the ability to look for DNA matches, or more likely, relatives linked by uploaded user data. For law enforcement officials, the access could be key to unlocking murders and rapes that have gone cold for years, opening up what many argue is the greatest investigative tactic since the advent of DNA identification. For privacy advocates, the FBI's new ability to match the genetic profiles from a private company could set a dangerous precedent in a world where DNA test kits have become as common as Christmas stocking stuffer. So yeah, this is absolutely unethical. It shouldn't be legal. Let's consider this. There's an inherent weakness with this system. Now, it should conceivably be much, much easier to frame someone. Let me explain. If you want to frame someone and you know that they've taken one of these DNA tests and it's in record, all you have to do is beforehand, before you commit the crime, take their DNA, take their prints, and leave it at the crime scene. Crime by proxy, and I'm sure that this will happen at least once in the future. The Houston-based company, which touts itself as a pioneer in the genetic testing industry and the first to offer direct-to-consumer test kit, disclosed its relationship with the FBI to BuzzFeed News on Thursday, saying in a statement that allowing access would help law enforcement agencies solve violent crimes faster than ever. While Family Tree does not have a contract with the FBI, the firm has agreed to test DNA samples and upload the profiles to its database on a case-by-case basis. Since last fall, a company spokesperson told BuzzFeed News. Its work with the FBI is a very new development, which started with one case last year and morphed. She said to date, the company has cooperated with the FBI on a fewer of 10 cases. The Family Tree database is free to access and can be used by anyone with a DNA profile to upload, not just paying customers. That's absolutely terrifying. This is exactly why I will probably never ever send my DNA or send my blood samples to any of these companies. I don't care about my ancestry. I'm actually quite curious to what that ancestry is. I have some theories, but It's not worth it. It's not worth it being tagged and uploaded into the electronic system. All of our private data is already being stolen, hoarded, and sold to the highest bidder already. Folks, do you want to know how bad it is? I was recently talking to my family, and they were telling me about a strange phone call they received. Someone was asking about a property in the area and whether or not it was for sale. They assumed that our family owned this property, which they in fact did not, and then they asked them, well, how did you get this number? The person on the phone said, oh, I looked it up on Google. So somehow, unknown to them, their phone number had been correlated with their address. And this person, this random stranger from across the country, was able to find their phone number and call them. Knows where they live. They can use Google Maps to look, and you can literally use Google Maps to look at the property. And you know what, folks? That's kind of scary. It's kind of scary that a complete stranger could find out that much about you. Is that not insane? Is that not the world we're living in?
This is the world we're living in.
So yeah, privacy is a huge concern. It should be a right, and I cannot agree with any of this. In the past, you were left alone. In the past, you could have some privacy. In the past, things weren't so goddamned open to the public. For detectives across the country desperate for leads, investigative genealogy has become the newest frontier for law enforcement agencies. By uploading DNA collected from a crime scene to the genealogy database, detectives have been able to locate distant relatives of suspected serial killers and rapists. Then, assembling a genealogical tree from that information, they have worked to identify suspects of crimes. I'm also going to tell you what's going to happen as a result of this. I think identity theft is going to become far bigger. In fact, if I were to propose a way that criminals would try to get around this, the smart ones would probably just adopt a new identity entirely. Until now, investigators have limited their searches to public and free databases, where genealogy enthusiasts had willingly uploaded the data, knowing it could be accessed by anyone. You see, and that's the slippery slope right there. It's not a fallacy. The slippery slope is real. If you give them an inch, they take a mile. In the FBI, here's the issue. It was revealed that the FBI had members inside its organization who traded text messages basically saying during the election, we're going to stop Trump from winning the presidency. It was revealed that there was a lot of people in the FBI who didn't want Trump to win. They completely ignored the crimes of the Clintons. They completely ignored the crimes of the left. James Communist Comey lied and was corrupt and basically let them off. Now, I'm not saying that the FBI is bad. They're very important, and they're supposed to serve a good purpose. But like any organization, they too can have corrupt people who work at the FBI abusing their power, trying to make sure that Trump doesn't win the election, which they failed to do, and doing things like destroying evidence or ignoring the crimes of the Clintons. For people who use the service not knowing the FBI had access to it, the news was concerning. All in all, I feel violated. I feel they have violated my trust as a customer. Leo Larkin, a genetic genealogist based in Livermore, California, told BuzzFeed News, I've got to decide whether I want to opt out of matching or delete my kits. Larkin, one of the administrators of a Facebook genealogy group with about 50,000 members, predicted that enthusiasts will be split from those who will be fine with law enforcement gaining access to their DNA profiles, to others who will be outraged by the invasion of privacy. Yeah, two kinds of people, two kinds of genes. You have your weak people who don't understand privacy, who don't understand the need to not be violated, to not be spied on, to not have every little fact available to the government, including your health, because genes contain all the information about your health risk, health problems. Imagine if companies and the government discriminated based on your genetic background. People always talk about some dystopian future where your level of health basically determines what jobs you can get and your interest rates and all this other stuff. But there are actually people out there who are like, well, it's fine. I don't care if I give them all my information and my DNA. Or people who say, you have nothing to fear unless you have something to hide. They're idiots. They're absolute idiots. I just think it's a stupid mindset to have. That's how you get to the dystopian future where everything is controlled, moderated, and all that information is used against you. I can't be the only one who thinks, wow, it's kind of crazy that our DNA is now a public record. It's not like you get anything out of it. You see, that would be the thing. That it would be a lot different if you actually got something in return for your information being out there. All these companies selling your private information, and they're making loads and loads of money on your information. How come we don't get a cut? Oh, and here's the big problem, because it's a huge issue of consent. Law enforcement's use of public databases had already caused concern from privacy advocates who noted that although users submit their DNA profiles willingly, relatives identified by their genetic code have not. That's the big thing here. Just because someone in your family line willingly gives away their DNA doesn't mean that you have consented to have your DNA found or identified. It's an absolute violation of consent. This should not be legal. Sure, maybe you can match the DNA with existing DNA in the database, but it should be absolutely illegal to find someone's relatives, to find their entire family trees. That's insane. And it's so easy to abuse that kind of technology. Imagine you're a stalker, or you can literally hunt anyone down just by finding one of their relatives and screening their DNA. We are nearing a de facto national DNA database. Natalie Ram, an assistant law professor at the University of Baltimore who specializes in bioethics and criminal justice, told BuzzFeed News, "We don't choose our genetic relatives, and I cannot sever my genetic relation to them. There's nothing voluntary about that." So it says here, Family Tree has already faced a warrant for information during the search for the Golden State Killer when its parent company was served a federal subpoena in March of 2017 for limited information on an account. That profile in the end did not lead to an arrest, but it shows law enforcement has been willing to take bold steps. So this guy was a suspect. He's literally an old man in a wheelchair. And there's absolutely no guarantee that this is actually the guy. I just want to point that out. And that kind of bothers me too. Imagine you're at a party where a crime is committed and your DNA ends up at the crime scene, as are many other people's DNA. How do they know it was you? DNA alone is not enough evidence to convict. Unfortunately, we live in an era where it is treated as such. So you walk around all the time, you lose hairs, that's your DNA. It can be found wherever you go. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're the one that committed the crime. So long story short, never take these DNA tests, and honestly, tell your family, tell anyone who thinks about taking one of these tests, that's probably not a good idea. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for today, folks. Let me know what you think about this. I know there's some people out there who won't think it's a big deal, and honestly, I disagree. I think it's just about prudence. It doesn't feel right that our private information and now our DNA is literally out there. Now anyone can see it, companies can see it, the government can see it. Soon people can hunt you down and find your DNA and Lord knows what. Anyways, this has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.